The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to episode 299 of Frightmares. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for 1980s The Shining is Gabrielle Proctor.
Hello.
Hello. Doing the big one.
Yeah.
Big one. We did Hereditary last year. That's another one of my, this movie and Hereditary are my two. That's my top two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good time.
Yeah, this is my favorite classic horror movie, and Hereditary is my favorite modern horror movie. I don't know why. We did technically do this one way back in the early days, episode 7. Horror is King Part 1. I'm pretty sure we did The Shining, and we did Firestarter, and then, I don't know, we did two.
Remember when we used to talk about several movies? What a wild time.
Yeah, me and Corey talk about that every episode we're on together, where we're like, how did we do? We did 8 movies an episode. It's entirely too much.
You used to be like, you have to stop talking. We have to move on to the next movie. Like,
Yep.
But we haven't even talked about this movie.
I didn't know how to fill time and talk about a movie for an hour, so we did 8 movies, and it was chaos. We watched 6. We would both watch 6, and then I would watch one, and then the other person would watch one. Dumb. That's why
so much.
That's why all those episodes aren't available anymore, because there's way too much going on in them, and just not liking I got drunk a lot and said crazy shit and very out of pocket things. Yeah. So
You've come a long way.
I have. And speaking of getting drunk, this episode hold on. This episode involves alcohol and stuff like that. Because Jack has, he's an alcoholic in this, and I figured since it's been a long time since I've shared my progress, by the time this episode airs, 2 days later, that this coming Friday, I will be 7 months. So, yay, I'll be 7 months sober. It's been great. Loving life. Life's a lot better being sober. But this is
feel like you're taking sobriety better than Jack.
Yeah. Haven't murdered my family yet. Although I have not moved to a resort in the cut off by snow. So, just let's not do that. It's also, let's also not go to a haunted hotel and get stuck there. But, yeah.
God,
so
there goes my weekend plans.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But this is not my sober podcast. If you'd like to go check out my sober podcast, it's All Juice, No Gin. Shameless plug. Thank you. Let's move on. My history with this movie is interesting, I think, because the first time I watched this was back in a time where if the movie didn't hook me in the first 30 minutes, I turned it off, which is a stupid way to live. I didn't realize how snobby I was about films until I started doing the podcast and started analyzing them more and not cutting movies off after 30 minutes. Weird way to live. I don't know what that was about. I hated this movie the first time I tried to watch it. Thought it was dumb, stupid, boring. I hated it. And then, once we got together, I think I watched it for the first time again with you. And then I was like, oh, this is cool. And then over the years, I'm like, yeah, it's one of the greatest movies ever made. So that's kind of my history with it. Hated it at first, and now it's one of my faves. So what about you?
Yeah, I remember seeing clips of this. When you were young and watching Twister, parts of Twister were actually pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, that was a horror movie to me when I was younger.
When they're on that hillside and it starts hailing and that one Twister's coming down, you're like, oh God, that horrified me. And so did seeing clips of this movie in Twister. So I was like, that movie seems fucking scary.
Doesn't the Twister rip right through the screen?
Through a drive-in theater. And that scared scared me a lot.
Yeah, bet.
So I got into a weird point in my early 20s where I would only watch scary movies with friends and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to watch more movies. I just got really into it. Started watching more action films, more older films. And I was like, I'm going to watch The Shining. I watched that shit on my laptop.
Terrible way to watch him,
and then I was like, wow, this movie's amazing.
Huh.
And then I used to watch it like all the time.
You just had 2.5 hours to spare frequently.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we all did when we were younger.
Especially if you're in college, between classes. Yeah, lots of time. And yeah, I used to watch this all the time. I remember when I tried to watch it in Korea, and for some reason at Netflix in Korea, and I rewound it several times because I was super confused. But they have the blood elevator and the subsequent doctor's visit cut out. It's gone. It's not in that movie. And I'm like, but what?
I understand, different country, different censorship. I understand the blood, but the
doctor's visit.
We just fuck mental health over here.
I was like, is it because he's not technically wearing pants? Because it's not like you see the lower half of his body. You just see him from an angle from the top of his head where you can tell he's probably just in his shirt and underwear.
Interesting.
But you can't even see that for certain.
Listen, it's not 3 Men and a Baby where they just show full baby genitalia and you're like, wow, we should not be doing this, guys. I understand it's the 80s. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, you were completely gobsmacked
Not
when that happened. Yeah. I was like, yeah, the 80s, man.
I know the phrase is I was so taken aback, but I hate that, so I just say taken back. That blew me back. I was like, whoa, let's not, and they showed it a few times, and I was, no, please.
They don't do that anymore now.
Let's not do that. Yeah. That baby is not able to give any consent over this. It's very strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our history with the movie. Let's move on to, what did Jason Hill, unless you had something else you wanted to say?
No.
I didn't want to cut you off, I'm sorry.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't cut me off.
I didn't cut me off. Got it. So let's move on to, what did Jason Hill make me watch this week? This week from 1980, sticking with the theme. He's killing it with the theme. I love that we came to this conclusion together that he'll give me a movie from the same year that we're doing a movie on the episode. Those are words I said. City of the Living Dead, directed by Lucio Fulci, one of the masters of Italian horror. A reporter and a psychic race to close the gates of hell after the suicide of a clergyman caused them to open, allowing the dead to rise from their graves. If that doesn't get you in, just based on the summary, I don't know what else will. Maybe my thoughts and feelings will. There's not many thoughts and feelings.
Then that's going to hook me in for sure.
Well, I don't want to say too much about it, but my first thought about 35 minutes in was this. I didn't know how else to describe it, but it's goopy. It's a goopy movie. There's a lot of blood and mushy things and icky shit. It's very
is that literal or just using a phrase?
No, I mean at one point I think they take dirt and earthworms and shove it into someone's mouth.
No. I didn't need descriptions. I meant if it actually involved shit.
No, I just said icky shit as in it's icky. I don't like it.
Yes.
At one point, I think intestines fall out of someone's mouth or something. It's very strange.
That doesn't sound right.
It's very strange. Oh, it doesn't sound right, but that's what it looked like. So it's a very goopy, bloody, I mean, it's Fulci. It makes sense. All the practical effects look incredible. The acting was good. But my biggest thing I'm not a fan of with these Italian horror movies is that they're not in original Italian. Some people are speaking Italian, and you can see because their mouths don't match up to what the subtitle or to what the audio is saying. But then there's people that speak English, and it does match up to what they're saying, but it's all still fucking dubbed. It's all dubbed in English, and that's because they don't roll sound on set. They didn't roll sound on set when they were making these movies back in the 80s in Italy. So it's like my only thing. It's just frustrating.
It's
chaotic because, yeah, you have people speaking two different languages on set, probably not knowing what each other is saying, but it doesn't matter because once they're done with their lines, they roll with their. It's very confusing. But other than that, it's a great time. I forgot to see what Jason, I think he gave it a 3 out of 5. Let me double check. I gave this a 4 out of 5. Killer movie. Loved it. Jason gave this a 3 out of 5. His review is The Intestines. They just keep coming. So yes, intestines, they happen.
Yeah.
Things and stuff.
Okay.
So 3 out of 5 from him, 4 out of 5 from me. This has a 3.5 out of 5 on the Letterboxd. You can watch this on Pluto, or you can go to YouTube, because apparently every movie in existence now is just on YouTube for free for whatever reason, and you can find an HD copy of it. That's how I watched it. No commercials this time. I don't know why some do and some don't. What's the deal here? Did they like set that up in settings or something? Like you can just monetize or something? Is that a thing?
Hell if I know.
They probably are not. They're probably not trying to monetize, because I don't understand how this is legal to do. But whatever. That's besides the point. So that is City of the Living Dead from 1980.
Jason says, check it out. You'll probably hate it.
Maybe not in this case, but thanks, Jason. Let's move on to the highest grossing movies and Oscar winners for the year. So the highest grossing movie of 1980 was Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, bringing in $550 million. And the highest grossing horror movie of the year, just like last episode with it being Alien, it was The Shining, bringing in $47.95.
Practically the same amount of money.
Yeah. Only about 10% math. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and try and do that. So
That's good.
This is the 53rd Academy Awards on Tuesday, March 31st, 1981, honoring movies released in 1980. Best actor goes to Robert De Niro for Raging Bull. Actor in a supporting role goes to Timothy Jutton for Ordinary People. Actress Sissy Spacek. Best actress goes to Sissy Spacek, Coal Miner's Daughter. This is like the third time she's been brought up since we started doing. It's crazy. I didn't realize how many nominations she had, and she's won a couple, I think.
Yeah, Sissy Spacek is powerhouse.
Yeah.
She's just very quiet. So.
Oh. Well, I forgot to put down that movie, so there's that. Actress in a supporting role, Mary Steenburgen for Movie. So that's good.
Do you want me to check?
Yeah, I think it's probably Ordinary People. I'm assuming it is. Cinematography goes to Jeffrey Unsworth and Ghislaine Cloquet, if I'm saying that right, for Tess. Director goes to Robert Redford for Ordinary People. Musical score, original score, goes to Michael Gore for Fame. And Best Picture goes to Ordinary People. Of course, I watched Ordinary People. And listen, I don't get the last few movies, okay? Deer Hunter, not great. Fucking Annie Hall, not that great. I don't remember what the last year's one was we did on Alien. I think that one was fine. But this one, I just don't understand.
She won for Melvin and Howard.
Oh, well, that's not Ordinary People.
It's not.
Ordinary People, I'll give you a little description here. It is the accidental death of an older son in an affluent family deeply strains the relationships among the bitter mother, the good-natured father, and the guilt-ridden younger son. You know, I just don't have much to say about this. It's just, I was so fucking bored. I was so bored. And I know what you said, that some of these movies just don't stand the test of time and stuff like that. This is something that should be constantly relatable, like a death in the family, suicide attempt. This is stuff that is still relatable to today, even to certain people that might be in this room.
Yeah.
And I didn't fucking care about what was going on. Just like Annie Hall, just like Deer Hunter, didn't care. It was just not interesting to me.
Also Robert Redford is a big name in Hollywood, or he was at the time. He hasn't been doing as much these days. He still does things, but he hasn't been doing like crazy big roles like he used to. And he's done a lot of directing. So remember, a lot of these are also very politically driven, very much people getting the votes where they want them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying that, like, the acting was great. Donald Sutherland without facial hair, though, was freaking me the fuck out. He was he was completely clean shaven, and when I saw him, I thought, doesn't he usually has like a mustache or something? But it was very weird. Didn't like his face in that one. But yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Again, I'm not rating these movies just like Annie Hall and Deer Hunter, I'm not rating them poorly because I didn't like them. I'm still giving them somewhat decent ratings. They're just not for me. It's just not I'm just not their demographic. So I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. It was fine. I was just bored.
Maybe you'll like Robert Redford better as an actor because Out of Africa.
Don't worry. That's coming up for the Oscar winners. I got to watch that 3 fucking hour long movie.
If you want to watch a good Robert Redford movie, though, it's Jeremiah Johnson all day, every damn day.
Well, Ordinary People has a 4.0 out of 5, so either I'm clearly missing something, or it's just not that great, or maybe it's some of both. I don't know.
You know how these Oscar winners get rated.
I know. So that is Ordinary People. It is streaming someplace. It's on Pluto. That's where I watched it with a fuck ton of ads. So enjoy it. Don't enjoy it. Don't let me sway your opinion. Watch it for yourself. That's what I recommend probably for this one. Anyways, let's move on to the IMDb Roundup. Welcome back to the History of Horror, which is the theme for this year, where we are covering one movie a year starting in 1975 and ending in 2025. This is The Shining from 1980, released on June 13th of that year in the U.S. Rated R for disturbing violent content and behavior, bloody images, graphic nudity, and strong language.
For a half second, I was like, graphic nudity? Never mind, I got it. It's fine.
Did you have to think about that one?
For a half second, yeah.
For a half second? Yeah, I mean, and it's only really the one scene, but I guess that is,
that's enough.
It's on screen for quite some time.
They
so
really
I mean,
relish it.
They really relish it. Well, yeah. So we've got moderate sex and nudity, severe violence and gore, moderate profanity, mild alcohol, drugs, and smoking, and severe frightening and intense scenes. Coming in at 2 hours and 26 minutes, listed as a drama horror. Directed by Stanley Kubrick. Is it Kubrick or is it
Kubrick?
Is it Kubrick? I always say Kubrick. I don't know why.
Stop doing that.
Stanley Tucci. Stanley Kubrick.
Just say a different person's name. It's fine.
John Hopkins, who also directed 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, and Full Metal Jacket. Written by Stanley Kubrick, who writes everything he directs. At least that's what I saw. Also written by Diane Johnson, who only has one other credit for the novel of The Divorce. So,
well, all right then.
Okay. Composed by Wendy Carlos, who also composed Tron, and also composed by Rachel Elkind, who has 3 other credits for shorts and 1 episode of a foreign show I cannot pronounce. So,
delightful.
Got it. Cinematography by John Alcott, who also did the cinematography for A Clockwork Orange, Terror Train, and The Beastmaster. Edited by Ray Lovejoy, who also edited 2001: A Space Odyssey, Aliens, and Batman. Starring Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance, who everyone should know, but in case you don't, he was also in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as R.P. McMurphy, as I talked about that a while back. Shelley Duvall as Wendy Torrance, who was also in Popeye as Olive Oil.
That's the role you picked.
What other role? That was like her number 1 next to The Shining, so I guess her number 2.
Really? It wasn't Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tales? She had a whole series where she'd get celebrity actors to guest star in reenactments of fairy tales.
You want to start doing the sheets?
Liza Minnelli did The Princess and the Pea.
Okay. Is it The Princess and the Pauper?
No, The Princess and the Pea, the one where she sleeps on the stack of mattresses, and a real princess is so delicate, you could feel even a pea in the mattress. Like in between the mattresses, like way down at the bottom. And she's like, wow, this was the most uncomfortable bed I've ever been in. What is that? And they're like, what, you're the best princess? It's a weird story.
Moving on. Danny Lloyd as Danny Torrance, who only has 2 other credits, but he was also in Dr. Sleep, apparently, as Spectator. And then
He's in the baseball scene.
We've got Scatman Carruthers as Dick Halloran, who also was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as Turkle. Estimated budget of $19 million. Worldwide box office gross of I rounded up to $48 million. It was filmed in Oregon, Montana, Colorado, Florida, and Hertfordshire, England. Mm-hmm. You can watch this on Plex. Movies that came out around the same time, we have Friday the 13th, Humanoid from the Deep, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, The Blues Brothers, Cheech and Chong's next movie, Zombie 2, and Caddyshack, that I spelled Caddyshack, so.
I've seen 3 of these.
Friday the 13th, Star Wars Episode 5, and The Blues Brothers.
No.
Cheech and Chong's next movie?
Nope.
Caddyshack?
Yeah. It's been an extremely long time, but I have seen it.
Yep. IMDb summary, a family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter where a sinister presence influences the father into violence. At the same time, his psychic son sees horrifying forebodings from both the past and the future. This is The Shining.
I don't suppose they told you anything in Denver about the tragedy we had up here during the winter of 1970? I hired a man named Charles Grady as the winter caretaker. From what I've been told, I mean, he seemed like a completely normal individual. But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown. He ran amok and killed his family with an axe.
Well, you can rest assured, Mr. Ullman, that's not going to happen with me.
That's right.
Mom, do you really want to go and live in that hotel for the winter?
Sure I do. It'll be lots of fun.
The only thing that can get a bit trying up here during the winter is the tremendous sense of isolation.
Is there something bad here?
I fear you will have to deal with this matter in the harshest possible way.
I do that. I killed you and Danny.
You did this to him, didn't you?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains. Here's Johnny.
Overall thoughts on the movie, Gabby. What do you got?
I love this movie. The tension, the overall vibes.
This is A24 before A24.
No, so we talked about this because we also watched we watched the book.
I do love watching a good book.
No, we listened to the audiobook. And what I really like about this movie is that it takes the feelings that the book emotes and creates the story out of that. And I think it does a really good job at that. The actors are really selling all the bad feelings that you're supposed to get from this movie.
Yeah, overall thoughts for me is I think this is a perfect movie. If this is one of the few movies that if I could give 6 out of 5 to, I would. I don't know if I said that for Hereditary, but that's another one. That's a movie where it's like, I wish I could give this 6 out of 5. Hereditary and The Shining, all I can think of right now are the ones that I would give 6 out of 5 to. Every time I watch it, every single time I watch it, I love it a little bit more. I'll note it, like the one thing I noticed that we'll get to at some point is how often Jack looks at the camera. There's a couple times that are very obvious when he's looking at the camera, but the amount of it goes so much deeper than that. So we'll get there. We're gonna do this a little differently, kind of like what we did with Alien, because this is such a well-loved movie with an incredibly high rating. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, this is what I liked and didn't like. I liked everything, and I don't have a dislike, so it's really hard for me.
Didn't like nothing.
I didn't like nothing. It's very hard for me to put into words like what my likes, because from start to finish, it's all likes. So what am I going to do? Sit here and describe the whole movie to you? That's going to be painfully excruciating. So I'm not going to do
Opening
that.
shot.
Let's talk about the opening though. Actually, no, that's going to be one of my hot takes. We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. I don't know. Where should we start? Should we start with the theories?
Sure.
Okay. So I have too many theories, so we're going to cut these down.
Yeah, you have a lot.
I have 6 theories. So obviously I want to talk about this first one here because I love a good conspiracy theory. So I'm gonna read you the ones that I found, and you tell me. We're gonna do 2, or we'll do maybe 3, because we got to do the Wendy theory because it's so fucking stupid and I hate it.
Okay.
So we'll do one other one. Which one sounds the most appealing outside of the moon landing? Because we're talking about that one. We have Native American genocide. Native.
What's not appealing about that?
That's not what I meant. I meant the theory. No, wait. Back it up. Hold on. Which theory sounds the most appealing to learn about? That still doesn't sound great.
Why'd you say interesting?
Interesting. That's a better word.
Let's stop calling Native American genocide appealing.
That's not.
Separate those words.
It's not what I mean. It's not the yes. So we have Native American genocide. We have hell. We have CIA experimentation. And we have Theseus and the Minotaur. Oh, and the
Theseus.
Yeah, and the Holocaust.
Wow, what's not appealing about the Holocaust?
Shut up. That's not what I meant. And
Let's go with hell. Let's keep it a little light.
Let's keep it a little lighter because some of this shit is dark. That's probably a good idea.
A couple of these, I'm going to be honest, sound darker than hell.
Yeah.
And I think people would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who the fuck Theseus and the Minotaur are. I know it's a Greek myth or Greek mythology, but...
Who gave it away?
Shut up. I'm just saying I had never heard of that before, so didn't really sound interesting to me. All right, so let's delete all these. Yeah, a lot of these are kind of dark. But I mean, the Native American genocide one does kind of make sense because they even mention that did they mention that in the book? I think they just mentioned that in the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
So, hell, this is the most straightforward and most believable Shining theories in circulation. This theory posits that the Overlook Hotel is a representation for hell, or other form of afterlife for the ghost, such as purgatory. The horrific happenings, the fact that the Torrance family is trapped, and the suggestion that Jack has been in the hotel for decades support the Shining analysis that the Overlook represents hell. The layout of the hotel seeming to fluctuate throughout the film is also used as evidence toward this interpretation. Proponents of this theory also point to objects and furniture in the background moving and disappearing between takes as further evidence. However, skeptics would say that these could easily be the result of simple continuity errors. We know that Kubrick would never allow this because he did hundreds of takes for certain scenes. So this isn't continuity errors. In an interview, Stephen King supports the notion that the Overlook Hotel could represent hell. He also suggests that Kubrick dismissed the notion when King brought it up to him, perhaps explaining The Shining in this manner falls more in line with the book rather than the film, despite the conjecture to the contrary. So it's entirely possible that this might be hell. But how did they all die? On the car ride up? Maybe they got into a car accident. And now they're in hell.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you've got a couple theories yourself.
I made my own.
You did. Next involves a conspiracy theory, which I love a good conspiracy theory. And I'm not going to sit here and say I believe this conspiracy theory. It's just fun to think about. So let me preface it by saying I don't believe that the moon landing was fake. However, if it was, Kubrick was definitely the man that would have been able to pull it off. Because if you've ever seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, that is some of the most convincing, I know it's a movie, but I'm like, God damn, did he actually go to space to film this? Because it's very impressive, how crazy good it looks for 1968. So, the core of the Shining moon landing theory posits that not only was the 1969 moon landing a hoax, but that Kubrick was the one who constructed the fake footage. This idea even served as the basis for a mockumentary film that director Matt Johnson called Operation Avalanche, which is really cool. Seen that one, love it. The broader theory became directly connected to The Shining in Kubrick's subtle way of validating the claims. Those who believe the Shining moon landing theory point to Danny's wardrobe, specifically the spaceship sweater with Apollo 11 written on it, which was the name of the rocket used in the moon landing. Further evidence includes the cases of Tang in the Overlook's pantry and the otherwise innocuous change from room 217 in the novel to room 237 in the film. This is thought to reference the estimated 237,000 miles between the Earth and the Moon, even though this number is technically inaccurate. This is one of the more popular and widely circulated The Shining theories, but it's also one of the sillier interpretations. In order to buy into The Shining conspiracy theories in this vein, you already need to be on board with the moon landing being a hoax. So,
yeah.
Apparently, it was based on the same theory that it was this was Kubrick apologizing for faking the moon landing by making this movie and adding those subtle little hints in there. I was like, I don't know why he'd be apologizing.
That seems aggressive.
And let's do the Wendy theory last because it's the dumbest one, and I want people to be mad with me, or they're gonna think it's validated, and then whatever.
It's not. Okay, so I have two theories. They're really based more on the book. But the first one was that Jack could also shine. Mm-hmm. It's obviously hinted at in the fact that he's the one who interacts with the ghosts the most, especially in the book, but also in the movie. Because Danny really has two interactions with the ghosts, but Jack sees several different ghosts, like a shit ton of ghosts.
That's true, yeah.
In the movie. There's a point where Dick Halloran even says he looked and Jack doesn't shine, but there's something else in there, something that's not quite right. And my theory is that because of his issues with alcoholism and his very warped state of mind, justifying everything he ever does ever by making it and using that to form his reality, he's buried all of that ability, and the hotel is just using what is his untapped ability. But because he can justify all these things to himself, he doesn't even begin to process the fact that you're talking to people that aren't there. He knows they aren't there. He knows it can't possibly be real, but because he justifies his own reality at all times. Mm-hmm. I mean, he even lies to himself repeatedly before he really admits the truth. He won't admit that he probably shines like his son does.
So 2 things on that. One, are you suggesting that basically you need to shine to see the ghosts? Is that what you're saying? Because in the movie, Wendy sees 2 ghosts. She sees the dog and guy in the bedroom, and then she sees the great party, isn't it, guy? So are you saying that you have to shine to see ghosts?
See, I think where the movie and the book, for her, the book insinuates that she does shine a little and that all moms shine a little. In the movie, it's the shining takes way more of a back seat.
And she doesn't see those until the very end. The
hotel is conceivably at its strongest.
True.
And it's kind of implied that in the movie, it's less whether or not you shine. It's more so whether, like, people who do shine are more likely to see it, but it's kind of implied that other people could see it if the hotel chose to let them see it, and especially because it's a high tense moment.
Yeah.
They're trying to terrorize her more.
Well, and then so that was my kind of first, my question, but my second point was that this theory is kind of backed up in Dr. Sleep because Danny, when he's an adult, uses alcohol to suppress his shine and kind of push it all down. So that's why he has, other than the fact that his dad was also an alcoholic, he uses alcohol to suppress that shine. So it's entirely possible, even though, Jack was sober in the movie for about 3 or 5 months, I think, something like that. He was in between.
You never really get a definitive number because much like the book, he says one time and Wendy says another, and you're like, but so how long have you been sober? I think it's more, they're consistent in the book.
I think he said, here's to 6 miserable months on the wagon in the movie, something like that. So it's been only a few months. So even with that short amount of time, it's entirely possible. Oh my God, yeah, that's entirely possible that now he is sober. He has the shine and doesn't notice, and that's why he's seeing all those fucking ghosts.
Well, yeah.
That's entirely possible.
And the hotel needs someone to get them Danny. So they're taking advantage of it and taking advantage of the fact that he will do whatever it takes to make his reality how he wants to perceive it, that he's not going to question it if he thinks it benefits him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your other one?
My other one was that in the book, Jack bug bombs a wasp nest, and then after it's completely dead, he gives the empty wasp nest to Danny. That then a bunch of wasps suddenly appear, and he's like, "But it was empty, and I bug bombed it." Like, what?
I'm gonna sue the bastards. I'm thinking $5,000 a sting.
Yeah, and because what's more important when your kid's been stung by wasps, if not money?
Money.
But this is still early on, so before it starts snowing and stuff, they have a pretty chill time. Jack's in a good place. The whole family's in a good place, which they don't really show you in the movie.
They don't show you that at all.
No, not at all. Which I have ideas behind, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think the wasp nest was a test to see what Danny's parents would do, because they've already repeatedly discussed what would they do in an emergency situation. So that's an emergency. They get a good shocking dose of, oh, that's how quick it could happen. Now imagine if it had snowed. Jack even says, oh, you should just stay. Like, I know your mom sucks, but you should just go stay with her so you and Danny will be safe. And Wendy talks him out of it. They talk themselves straight out of it. And I feel like the wasps were a test to see how they'd react to something like that happening, because they really don't start. Like, Jack sees a little bit of the hedge animals the day it starts to snow.
Right, yeah.
And as soon as so I don't think, so I believe that the hotel also waited to start making things happen to where it would be more difficult and therefore less appealing to leave and make it easier to keep them there and isolate them before it started doing things more aggressively with Jack.
Well, especially in the book too, because in the book, Jack and Wendy know that there's something special about Danny because he is able to tell them where things are without knowing and this and that. In the movie, he doesn't mention his shine at all to his parents because Tony tells him not to. So it's never brought up. But it's really weird that he didn't get any sort of... I think he saw one thing before he went to the hotel in the book. Like Tony showed him one horrible thing before they left. But I'm surprised he didn't get any more idea of what was happening because he has that shine. Maybe because... they're ghosts and he can't really read their minds like he can people. I don't know. It's just weird he didn't get like a bad feeling or something.
Well, remember, he saw a lot of things. He saw like the blood splatter and brain matter in the presidential suite.
Oh, shit, that's right.
And he saw all sorts of shit.
That's right,
but
that's right.
Dick Halloran told him not to worry about it.
That's right. Okay, there we go.
Just like in the movie, Dick says they're just images. They can't
like
do
pictures
anything.
In a book, yeah.
Yeah. And but he tells him to stay out of the 217 because he's like, just don't go in there. Like he knows what's in there and goes, you know what? Just stay out of that area.
Stay out.
But I think in a way, Dick was trying to comfort Danny, but instead he ended up doing him a disservice because then they ended up staying longer. And but Danny also in the book already knows, had mentioned a time that someone was crazy and the men in the white outfits came and took the crazy man away. Mm-hmm. And he's terrified that if he tells his parents too much, they're going to think he's crazy, which is the other reason he doesn't talk about the sheer amount of stuff. It's not till his mom finally says, hey, I know you know things. It's okay. I need you to talk to me.
And that's when he talks about the woman in room 217.
Yeah, but that is also the day it starts snowing.
Right,
217 was after it started snowing.
Yeah.
This is when they talk about how Jack is starting to reenact his alcohol habits minus the alcohol. He's starting to lick his lips again and he's more irritable and he's doing all the things he used to do, chewing the Excedrin.
God, which sounds
sounds gross.
It sounds every time he's like, I bit down on an Excedrin because in some way it kind of got him high. I'm like, God, I don't even like pills touching my tongue because it gives you that weird flavor and I hate it. So chewing an Excedrin, no thank you.
So, by the time his mom is brave enough to really address the issue, it's already too late.
That's true. Yeah. And then Dick also says to, if you do see something, close your eyes and open them back up and then it'll be gone. And that's what he does. And that's what happens when he's in the bathroom with his parents, when he sees all the blood and the brain guts and stuff like that. So he closes his eyes and it goes away. And that's what he does in room 217. He does that with the lady that he sees, but then she grabs his neck and he's like, oh, fuck. This is not just my imagination anymore. This is real life shit. So,
yep.
Yeah. So,
those are my theories.
I love those theories. Those are really good theories, to be quite honest. Especially, I really like the second. I mean, I like both of them, but I really like the one where it's like, it's like they're kind of testing Danny with little things to see if he'll like say something, like the brain. Guts on the wall. Will Danny say anything to his parents? Oh no, he didn't say anything. Cool. Let's wait till it starts snowing and then we'll just go full.
Something really dangerous happens to Danny. Will they actually take him away where they know he'd be safe? Nope. They're too busy trying to keep their failing marriage together and avoid the things that scare them to actually do that. Like the mom and trying to find other work. They choose themselves over safety, and the hotel's like, all right, once I get them in, they'll be here.
Yeah, so solid theories. I wish I came up with my own, but
I thought that's what you asked me to do.
No, I just wanted you to scour the internet to find theories that you liked because I knew there was a lot with this one. I just couldn't concoct a theory on my own. So no, you went above and beyond with this assignment. So I appreciate coming up with two, not even one. You came up with two.
Yeah.
But the biggest, dumbest, bullshittiest theory I've ever fucking heard is called the Wendy theory. Now, This theory, created by Rob Navarro on YouTube, explains that most of the events in The Shining are actually happening in Wendy's head as she goes into psychotic episodes. The scene that, to the author of the theory, makes it clear that it's all happening in Wendy's head is the one that takes place on Tuesday, where Wendy enters the Colorado room and finds Jack working on his novel. As Wendy approaches Jack, he rips the paper out of the typewriter, and the chair and table behind Jack appear and disappear between shots. However, the moment that, quote, unlocks the Wendy theory, end quote, is when she leaves, as Jack now looks calm and even slightly confused. His hair isn't out of place, and there's paper back in the typewriter, meaning, or possibly meaning, that he never pulled it out to begin with. This then could suggest that this exchange between Wendy and Jack only happened in her head. She might have said her lines out loud and imagined Jack's, said both out loud, or had it all play out inside of her head, and she just walked to Jack, stared at him, and then left. Okay. Let's go a little bit deeper with this. So Wendy's implied to have an active imagination, as she's seen reading throughout The Shining, and Jack mentions that she's a, horror enthusiast or whatever. My wife's
confirmed horror film and ghost story enthusiast.
There you go. And this along
addict.
Yeah. And this along with traumatic experiences and her already fragile mental state could have deeply messed with her perception of the world around her. Navarro goes on to explain that a key detail to knowing when something is taking place in Wendy's mind is the camera placement. And they use the same scene in the Colorado room as an example. In it, the camera is filming from the back of the characters and slowly comes closer as Wendy approaches Jack, which could be seen as Wendy witnessing her hallucination. Another example of this is where Wendy and Danny are watching TV at the hotel, but the TV is not plugged in. So what the audience is seeing on it is Wendy's projection of it, and the camera in this scene is also filming from the back of the characters, zooming out to show Wendy and Danny are alone. This just makes me so irritated and angry, because it's like, why are we making this all of a sudden? It's all she's a hysterical woman and she's been I almost said traumatized. She's been traumatized, so it's her fault, not the alcoholic. It's not his fault, not the guy who's clearly going insane at the hotel.
Not the hotel that's clearly alive that could be changing things.
Yeah, no, this is somehow all in Wendy's head. It's fucking ridiculous. It just irritates me to no end that someone saw this and was like, you know what? This is all the woman's fault. It's all in her head. Okay, then I don't have anything else to say besides I think it's so stupid. There is like a 30-minute video on YouTube that you can go and watch this guy explain all this stuff. And we watched it together. And I remember the more it went on, the more irritated I got. And I don't even know how I got through it without shutting it off. But it's so ridiculous to me. There's a couple other things about this that I don't really necessarily want to go into. Unless you want me to, I will.
No, I don't. I already watched it.
Yeah, I don't want to. So yeah, if you're more, if this appeals to you and you think this is a possibility, by all means, go watch the YouTube video. I think this is stupid, and we're just finding another reason to call a woman hysterical in a movie rather than just, go with what the source material says in the book. There's no indication that Wendy's the cause of all of this, and it just seems like a very, very, very... I believe the moon landing one more than this one, and that should say a lot, because that's a wacky theory.
Yeah. That's
a really wacky theory. So... I think now we should kind of talk about the book and, the movie itself, talking about what's different. I have some key differences that I noticed, especially with some of the characters. Well, not really. Yeah, there's a few. So Ullman in the book is described by Jack as a prick, short with dark hair and a carnation in his lapel. And he didn't want to hire Jack, and in fact was only doing this because Albert Shockley, who sits on the board of directors, wanted to. Ullman's a piece of shit, basically, and all of his workers think the same thing that Jack does, that he is a prick, but that is not represented in the movie at all. Ullman is he seems like a genuine person. He seems interested to give Jack the job. He's not the one offering the job. He did say that people up higher were the ones that recommended him for the position. I
think Kubrick really streamlined the amount of antagonists in the book.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't really need, for the purposes of the movie, and especially what you're covering, you don't really need him to be a dick. You're just being a dick unnecessarily. Then it just looks like he's being a dick unnecessarily, and we never speak to him again.
Well, and Ullman also has a very short role in the movie as opposed to the book, where, and In the book, there's the interview. He takes them around the hotel, shows them. He's actually a pretty big part in the beginning of the book. So it makes sense, really, to not make Ullman in the movie a dick because he's such a small part of it.
If anything, you would just see him antagonizing Jack for no reason because you don't get Jack's narrations.
That's true. A couple of people that are missing too from the movie that I wish were there. I wish we got to see Watson, but unfortunately, since the book ends completely different, obviously this is going to be spoilers for the book. Since the book ends totally different with the hotel exploding because of the boilers building up too much pressure, there was really no need for Watson. And in fact, we only get one scene, I think, where Wendy is looking at the boilers and making sure all the numbers are right. Jack's not even
Jack doesn't do a single damn part of his job the entire movie.
He doesn't.
Wendy does.
In the book, he replaces like shingles on the roof. He does
shutters.
He does shutters. He's doing the boiler room. He's doing all sorts of shit.
The rat traps.
And then the rat traps. Make sure to don't use poison. Use rat traps in the kitchen. Yeah, he does all this stuff in the book and doesn't do a fucking thing in the movie. We're also missing Shockley, Al Shockley. He's the guy that sits on the board of directors. And then a really big point from the book that you don't get in the movie is George Hatfield and the whole interaction that Jack has with the student, where he basically almost killed a student. That's why he needs a new job. He got fired. I know they mentioned in the movie that he got fired from his old job or something happened, but they don't really go into. It's pretty vague. And in the book, you get why he got fired from that position and why he's now at the Overlook. He basically almost killed a kid for. The whole thing was kid was on the debate team. Jack moved the clock forward a minute, even though he told George Hatfield he didn't. George got mad because, he has a stutter, but he wanted to be a, speaker. And Jack was like, "You're never going to."
His dad was a lawyer, and
there you go.
His dad wanted him to follow in his footsteps, which included the debate team.
So, Jack was like, "You're never going to make it with that stutter unless you do something." So he got kicked off of the debate team. And then George Hatfield goes to poke holes in Jack's tires on the Bug is the same, though. They have the VW, but it's a different color. Jack catches him doing this to his car and gets him in a chokehold and has to be pulled off by another teacher. So that's why he doesn't work at that school anymore.
So I think, again, I don't think knowing why he got terminated from the last job was necessary because Kubrick really focuses on the tension in the family, and Jack, a lot of how he has some redeemable qualities, like that deep down he does care about his family, is because you can hear his thoughts and because his son loves him so much. But to really streamline that idea, if you don't try to justify Jack as a character and you just focus on the worst parts of him, how when they make a crack about having a party in the ballroom in the film, and he goes, "We don't drink."
Yeah.
He says it with such a tone that just says, "Yeah, not my fucking choice." And so all you need to know is he was fired from his job. He's a very irritable person. He can put on a good show for other people, but he is more prone to be himself in front of his family, which is a man who doesn't actually want to be sober, but feels like he had his arm twisted, or else he would lose his family because of how he hurt his son. And cut through all the other stuff.
No, that's fair.
Yeah,
because in the book, there's he goes out with his drinking buddy. I can't remember his name, but he has a buddy that he always goes out drinking
Al Shockley.
Is that Al Shockley?
I thought it was.
Oh. Well, yeah. So he goes out with his buddy drinking all the time, and they have an incident in the book where they hit a bike. And they assume they've hit a kid that was on the bike, but they can't find a kid anywhere. And that's the moment in the book where he actually decides to, hey, I need to stop drinking. It's not because, and I think in the movie, it's because of the whole thing with his son. Is that what it was? Or
yep.
Yeah. So the reasons are a little bit different, but Jack decides to, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because in the book, he's already broken Danny's arm at this point. He's already beat up a teenager, and it's not till he's not even driving the car that hits the bike. His friend says he's done, and then Jack pretty much goes, "Oh, I guess I should be done too."
Yeah.
It's not actually his idea. It's his friend's idea that he gets on board with because he was so terrified of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, he still ultimately made the decision.
Well, I'm just saying he didn't come up with the idea. He's just riding on the tails.
Fucking semantics here.
Okay.
I'm just teasing. But yeah, so the reasons are a little bit different for why he quit drinking. And when he is sober in the book, he actually shows his family some sort of not emotion,
affection.
Affection, there we go. He shows his family some form of affection by talking to Danny, telling him how much he loves him. I think he like smacks Wendy on the butt and they kiss and they have sex in the book. And in this movie, it's like he is annoyed with Wendy's existence from the beginning. He does have that little thing with Danny at the hotel when he sits Danny in his lap. And he's like, I love you, Danny. But it comes off very
unsettling.
Very unsettling. So you can tell there is a decent person in Jack deep down somewhere that was, kind of just drowned out by alcohol. But in the movie, it's just like it's just like he is fucking annoyed just all the time.
Well, and I also think that by continuing to build that, by not giving him those redeemable qualities, you spend most of the movie, because when you first meet him, he seems pretty pleasant.
Yeah.
By the time, as soon as everybody else is gone, it's like he relaxes, and then it's all tension building after that. There's no nice little moments. Oh, is something bad going to happen? Is he going to snap out of it? Nope. It's all tension.
Yeah.
It's all uncomfortable. Wendy is trying to have a conversation with him about his book and trying to be friendly, and he is berating her, and she is doing her best to smile through it. And
especially that scene in the Colorado room when she interrupts Jack, and
you hear me typing, and she's trying to smile and be nice, and he just berates her, doesn't show her an ounce of kindness, basically makes her feel like a fucking problem just for breathing his air.
Yeah.
And
now why don't you do yourself it's like, why don't you do me a favor and get the fuck out? Like, goddamn, bro.
Yeah.
It's a little harsh.
And he's solely focused on things that matter to him. In fact, him even saying that he loves Danny feels like he's half asleep when he says it. So it feels like he's not even fully himself. So the sincerity isn't there.
That's fair.
But I know I told you I talked to my sister about the book and how in the movie and how she had made a good point that Stephen King was dealing with his own sobriety and reflected a lot of himself into Jack, which is probably one of the big issues Stephen King had with Kubrick's movie is since there is no internal monologue and no redeemable qualities, you just get an alcoholic who really doesn't want to be sober and is making sure his family suffers from him not wanting to be sober. Like, well, if I'm going to be miserable, you're going to be miserable, which would have to hurt if you were trying to be in recovery, trying to deal with that and trying to express that deep down you love your family, but addiction is strong, which is more of what you get out of the book.
Yeah.
Because even in Jack's last moments, he tells Danny, I do love you. And Danny even says the hotel had to make him drink to make him
do the bad thing.
To make him stop loving his family the way he was loving his family when they got there.
Yeah, and I think that's what I really like about the ending of the book is when Danny is confronted with Jack, and Danny's like, "You're not my dad. You're false face, or whatever he says."
Yeah.
Because the Overlook is, and that's what I do love about the miniseries is they kind of do that towards the end. But yeah, the moment when Jack is able to break free of whatever's controlling him and say, "Danny, like you have to run, get out of here," and then the little twist too at the end when Danny's like, the boiler. And the ghosts are like, no, the boiler. It was so great when the ghosts are like agitated at the fact that they forgot about the boiler and they have to run down to the boiler and then they twist the knob and they're like, haha, I did it. Nope, kaboom.
Yep.
And up goes the Overlook. And that's why I like Dr. Sleep so much, because not only did Mike Flanagan somehow stay true to the Dr. Sleep novel and can continue the story of The Shining, which is nothing like that novel, he also gave us the Overlook explosion that The Shining movie did not give us. Like, thank you, Mike Flanagan. And that's why that movie has 5 stars. So, a couple key differences that we haven't mentioned yet that I wanted to just rattle off real quick. The topiaries, they wouldn't have fit into this movie.
No.
They would not have fit.
It'd have been silly. Actually, my dad and I were talking about that this morning because he was like, could you imagine how silly that would have been? I'm like, that would have killed the vibes.
No, yeah. And I understand that's probably why Kubrick didn't do that, because it wouldn't have vibed. Now, the miniseries has them, and although they are a CG nightmare hellscape, love the fact that they included them. I just think
it looks silly in visual.
It's just one of my favorite parts of the book that these topiaries come to life. And they fuck with Danny, they fuck with Jack. They, like Dick Halloran at the end when he's driving that snowmobile up to the Overlook, battles a lion and sets it on fire. Like, it's fucking epic. So that's really cool. The Wasp Nest is a whole huge chunk. It's like 3 fucking chapters in the book. That's like an hour and a half of this wasp nest. Jack writing about the Overlook and calling Ullman and berating him about it, and then Al Shockley calling him about that. That was interesting. The fact that it wasn't a lady in room 217 for Jack, it was George Hatfield. That was interesting. I like that. I like that a little bit better in the book than I did in The Shining or the movie. How Jack smashes the CB in the book in his sleepwalking, but in the movie he just goes and like takes a little thing out. He's like, ha ha ha, look at me go. Not as dramatic. And then Dick lives in the book and doesn't in fact die to an axe in the chest. So
it's funny. Wendy gets off a lot cleaner in the movie than she does in the book because, man, like, Jesus breaks some ribs. Pretty sure he broke her back. Like, she gets busted to shit in the book.
Gets off pretty scot-free.
But in this one, she's more just running around. She doesn't actually take a single hit in the movie. And the only one who takes a single hit is, well, Dick Halloran, and then he down. But, I mean, goddamn, in the book, though, Dick gets smashed in the fucking face with that roque mallet and, like, breaks teeth. But he gets to live. And we were talking about how they actually did him pretty dirty in the movie, though, because he goes through all this fucking effort. You spend all this time watching him get up to the Overlook, only to be killed like 30 seconds into the building.
He's in there for like 10 seconds.
And pretty much the only person who knows that it's him Jack probably doesn't even fucking remember who that is.
No.
He just killed person walking in. Wendy only sees a parka body at a distance, has no idea who it is, doesn't go to look.
Love that zoom, though, when it zooms into his body and the music in the background's going crazy. Great scene.
And then Danny is out fucking side. So nobody fucking knows that Dick Halloran went up there. And the only reason he had to be up there in the movie is so they had that fucking truck thing to drive.
Yeah,
the snowcat. And I was like, damn, you know what? They did do Dick Halloran a little dirty in the movie.
Yeah, they really did. I don't really know if this is considered a hot take, but I think this is one of the greatest title sequences of all time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I hate when people start the movie and then start talking.
Like shut up.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I think this might be my favorite.
Playing my song.
Yeah, because I'll let it play and I'm like, all right, what level are we at? Cool. Louder, please. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you gotta crank it.
Which
is so funny that we're like really into it in this, but when it happens in Sleeping with the Enemy, you're like, oh no, danger.
Yeah, danger.
I like that same song, definitely different vibes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hooked for me is the elevator pouring out blood 11 minutes in. I'm in. That's my hooked. What about you?
So when the opening credits start.
Got it. I'm never lost. I assume you're never lost. My horror moment is when Wendy finds all of Jack's papers with all work, no play on it, because then at that point, if it's not apparent that Jack has lost his mind, you really see how much he's lost his mind. And the music that goes behind it and the angles that Kubrick uses, top notch. What about you?
The elevators.
Okay. There's only one kill, and I'm not gonna say it's my favorite because that's my favorite character is Dick Halloran. So I'm not gonna say it's my favorite kill.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it. So yeah, favorite character. Apparently I wrote down Doc Halloran, which that's not right. So Dick Halloran. Your favorite character? Yeah. Okay.
I like that he barely knew that boy, but he was like, I have to save him.
I'm gonna fly from Florida. I'm gonna find him.
Especially in the book, you went through a shit ton of trouble to get up there.
The battling the Lion-topia.
No, I meant dealing with people asking him every 20 seconds why is it your fucking business? I need to get up there. It's an emergency.
By the time he gets to, what was it, Durkins, he's like, just give me the fucking snowcat. Let me get up there.
Like could we stop this?
Yeah. Favorite character?
I just said yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. Weirdly enough, you'd think Jack would be my least favorite, but I don't have a least favorite. There's only 4 fucking people really in this movie. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And our favorite line, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Which one?
In reference to the Donner Party. You mean they just ate each other up? The way he says it is so...
Why do you sound like you're going to sell Lucky Charms after this?
That wasn't a leprechaun...
Say it again.
You mean they just ate each other up?
Yeah, you keep being oop.
That's what he says. He sounds like such a dork when he says it. You see, hon, he saw it on the television. That's favorite line, right?
Yeah, that's a good line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to mention on The Shining? I think we did it a pretty decent service here.
Yeah, I feel like both of them are good, solid works. And I don't miss the amount of conversation about nipples.
Yeah,
from the book to the movie.
Well,
don't miss people repeatedly discussing nipples.
So, yeah, there's if you don't know this about Stephen King, he likes to get very detailed about nipples in his books. And there's not much description of them, but he's talking about how Jack's flicking her nipple and blah, blah, blah. We made it so far into the movie without that, or into the book without it happening, and then it happens, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Same thing with a certain word, a certain slur. We made it to chapter 38, and then Stephen King was like, it's open season on this slur, and I'm like, you got to chill out with that word.
Did y'all hear about nipples?
What?
I said, did y'all hear about nipples?
I was talking about the slur. I thought you just said it. I was like, what the hell? You can't say nipples right after I'm talking about a slur.
Bad. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was like, dude, what? Anyway.
I've never said that word in my life, and you thought today was the day?
I was confused. She said nipples, everybody. Moving on. Taglines. This boy feels... That's way too long. I'm not reading that. I don't even know why I put that. A masterpiece of modern horror. Stanley Kubrick's epic nightmare of horror. The horror is driving him crazy. He came as caretaker, but this hotel had its own guardians who'd been there a long time. Stupid.
That's wordy.
So trivia here. I just think it's funny because Danny Lloyd didn't know he was making a horror movie. Somehow they kept that a secret from him, and he didn't realize until much later that he was in a horror movie. And in fact, at the end of the movie, when Wendy's carrying Danny, it is a life-size dummy so that Lloyd would not have to be in this scene. And he realized the truth many years later that he was, in a horror movie. So that's fun. For the scene in which Jack breaks down the bathroom door, the props department built a door that could easily be broken. However, Jack Nicholson had worked as a volunteer fire marshal and tore it apart far too easily, so the props department were forced to build a stronger door. According to Shelley Duvall, the famous Here's Johnny scene took 3 days to film, and they used 60 doors. Stanley Kubrick, known for his compulsiveness and numerous retakes, got the difficult shot of blood pouring from the elevators in only 3 takes. This would be unremarkable if it weren't for the fact that the shot took 9 days to set up. Every time the doors opened and the blood poured out, Kubrick said, it doesn't look like blood. In the end, the shot took approximately 1 year to get right. And Shelley Duvall suffered nervous exhaustion throughout filmmaking, including physical illness and hair loss. I'm just gonna skip the rest of this. I put entirely too much trivia. Go to IMDb and just start Start combing through the trivia. There's a lot of good shit there. I'm gonna skip all these goofs as well. I want to wrap this up. I don't know why. Sometimes I overdo it, you know.
You did a lot.
Sometimes I overdo it. Rated 8.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, has an 83% on the tomato meter, and a 93% audience score. This is very clearly a 5 out of 5 from both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a Frightmare certified slap. Similar movies according to Letterboxd, we have Hereditary, Insidious, 1408, The Shining miniseries, and The Ring. Similar movies according to IMDb, we have A Clockwork Orange, The Silence of the Lambs, Pulp Fiction, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Scarface. Because nothing says The Shining like a bunch of cocaine. Couple funny reviews. You didn't get any. You have a face of someone who didn't get any reviews, did you?
God, I listened to the whole fucking audiobook. How much work do you think I have to put into one episode?
Fine. I think it's funny that this movie on Letterboxd has 237,000 reviews, so it says 23K reviews. That's amazing. So, first up here, 3.5 stars from Jamie. Something in the movie happens. Some guy who loves going absolutely crazy on the cello. That's my cue. 5 stars from Abigail. If it was me, I simply wouldn't have gone crazy. No, nothing? Okay. Let's see. 4.5 stars from Fran. Men will even get angry on vacation. 5 stars from Drew Clark. Winnie the Pooh blows a guy.
Jesus Christ.
And 5 stars from Eric. No, I got 2 more. Sorry. 5 stars from Eric. The blood elevator, but it's full of all the nuts I've busted over this movie.
Ew.
4 star, and finally, 4 stars from Lily. Marriage Story is a lot more intense than I remembered.
Jesus.
If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and /her app at frightmarespodcast. Our email is stayspooky@outlook.com. You can also follow me personally on Letterboxd at Dr. Proctor. You are
Watson LMP 90.
Boo, yeah. Next week, me, Michael, and Michael's wife Amanda will be doing The Howling from 1981. It's going to be a fun time. So until then, stay tuned and
stay spooky.